Coffee
Howdy,
Experts
howdy.
Club. Good day to you, Sir
Oh,
Drew.
good day. How you doing, my man?
Good. I actually I made the mistake of eating Chipotle for lunch, so I'm like halfway into a nap right now.
Little food drama.
Like 10 minutes ago, I was like, whoa, man, I could go for a nap, actually.
Mhm. That might not be it might just be your age, dude.
Yeah, I mean, there is also that. It's like it's warm in my office right now. I just had like a big meal, like ready to sit back in the
It,
recliner and watch some football and fall asleep.
it was hailing for a minute. That's perfect nap weather.
Really? Oh, I didn't even see that. I missed that completely.
Yeah, I hailed for like 10 minutes.
Oh, funny. Well, we are here at Coffee Experts again. We're going to talk a little bit about Drew, not you, but other Drew.
Mr. Davis.
Mr. Drew Davis. We had, if anybody
You
missed
know,
it last week, we had him on. He's from Stomping Grounds in Tennessee.
yeah, yeah. You know what I find so interesting about the coffee culture is, it's kind of it's, it takes an entire globe to make it happen. You have the where the coffee comes from and the people who serve it, and then it's piece by piece been picked up all across the world, and everybody does it differently. But what we have also found is that there is a baseline level of the way that we want to do it, and almost the passion that drives the people that do it. And so we've spoken to people from other countries who've done coffee and similar experiences as far as you know the types of marketing or how you speak with your customer base or your offerings. And though the world is so very different, one of the things that connects us all is coffee.
That's true. And you can always find the same type of cup wherever you go, literally wherever you go. That is unless you go to Italy, then the coffee is just garbage. But don't leave a comment or anything, all you angry Italians. But the coffee they have over there is hot garbage. I
Really? I
did
thought you
find
were joking.
what's that?
You're joking.
No, their espresso is
Yeah.
god awful.
What?
It was one of the most disappointing things when we went up there like a few years ago. I was like, oh heck yeah. I mean, the birthplace of the espresso machine, espresso itself, I'm gonna have the best cup. No, it's hot garbage everywhere. Like they all of the like the Italian roast, it's called an Italian roast. I realized because of how they do it. Like it's so darkest of dark roasts, and everything's like a super lungo shot. So you're getting like
Mm.
an espresso is basically an 8 ounce Americano here.
Uh,
And it's just dark roast, just poorly pulled. It was one of the most like illusion breaking disappointments.
'cause I think that it would be some of the best coffee,
You would
because they have
think.
the highest quality equipment, some of the best minds behind the science. Not the case.
I went to a couple spots and I was like, it must just be like, because you can get crappy coffee here. Like if you go to like a gas station, you get a crappy cup of coffee. And I was like, it must just be this one spot. Go to a different spot. No, it's bad too. And they're all just bad.
So it sounds like there's opportunity
Yeah, if you actually
over.
wanted to make good coffee in Italy, they're probably like, what is this? What is this?
This isn't God. There must be a reason that it is the way that it is. So,
It's
some
the
history behind the way that they do it.
I mean, I just think it's like they made it, but we perfected it type of thing.
I see.
I
Kind of
mean,
like pizza.
yeah, I mean, I'm just saying. Plus, over there, it's like everything's like we've done it like this for 400 years, so we're not going to change.
Yeah.
When you come to
That's
US, it's like how can we make it better? Like every 6 months.
yeah.
So if you ever go to Italy, just know you're not going to find good coffee.
Make your own coffee. Find your
Yeah.
own brewer.
Unlike if you go to Tennessee, you will find good coffee.
You will find some of the best.
I actually did
And
find it
what was
interesting. I never
this?
got the chance to ask Drew Davis like what it was like opening a coffee shop in England. Like, because I know like with De Los Mayas, you've helped them out with having to jump through like the hoops of working with cities and all that. Like, what is that like for? I mean, opening in England, that would be I feel like just a whole puzzle in and of itself, being in a country that you have no idea what regulations are like at all. I wish I could have asked him that. I didn't think of it though.
Well, if he's watching this, drop a comment for us, Drew, because I'd love to hear. I'd love to hear about it because I mean it was quite some time ago, and as we learned in Belize, even in 2023, it's hard to get some stuff into the countries that stuff doesn't originate from,
Yep.
and communication around standards and quality control and
Mhm.
even your public image and how you relate with the community. All those things are what we would think because we're born and raised in America as Americans. We think the standard is what we think it is, but it's not
Mhm.
that way in other places, obviously.
Yeah. Or even like, do you like, unlike here, are you required to have a hand wash sink in the back room? Are you required to have, ADA access to the back door? Like all that sort of stuff. The weird little things that you would never think about unless you've actually opened a coffee shop. Then you're like, we must have ADA access in our bathroom. Got to have a little handrail. I wish I could have asked him about that because I know the regulations have got to be different over there. Probably some worse, some better. Who knows? I mean, unlike Belize, where it sounds like the regulations are like just don't burn down a building.
Yeah, they're similar to Montana from what I experienced.
Okay. Okay.
Just Raz in Montana. Yeah, I mean, and these are all questions you don't think about, like you said, or he was a foreigner. How did that work with this whole business license? He had to get a work permit. How long did he stay? Like all of these things. If you're thinking about opening a coffee shop in another country, we believe so, and Mexico is pretty similar. So, but England, that'd be an interesting one.
Yeah, completely different because it's. I mean, it's not. Is Belize considered a third world country or is it are there second world countries? No, I just felt
I
like
don't think that they use.
second.
I don't think they like the term third world. I think they use the term developing.
Developing company. So they're a developing company versus developed country. Like those levels of regulations are going to be completely different. And like you said, yeah, like can you open a business on just a work visa or like all questions I wish I'd asked last week.
Hindsight's 2020,
Yeah,
and that's why
right.
we do these reviews. Yeah, and then of course serving like I mean we could serve Folgers down in Belize, but I don't. It might fly, might actually fly. Where the coffee culture is not. I mean, here in the States, it's so saturated, as we all know. You can't throw a stone without hitting a mom and pop or a Starbucks. And the quality, and that I think, like you said, is what breeds the necessity for improvement constantly. So we're always trying to get better and be better and do better and watch the competition and see what they're doing, and then maybe take that and you still like an artist and put our own little spin on it. Um, but in places where there's not a lot of competition, you could serve folders and call it a home, house brew, get away with it.
House brew. I wonder
You
because
brewed it
we
at
were
your
talking
house.
to yeah. I mean, it's made in your house. Sure, you've brewed it in house at the coffee shop. It's a house brew. But we were talking
Yeah.
after it too. Like, I wonder, and I haven't really looked into what the UK or even Europe has for like drive-through style coffee. Have you seen anything like that over there or heard anything like that?
Nope. No. And I mean, from what Aaron said, because I've never been over there, they don't have things like that over there. It's not quite our American style of fast food hasn't quite reached their level of living or their styles.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I've spent some time over in Europe a little bit over the last few years, just on vacations and stuff like that. And like it's odd. Like you don't see a McDonald's as often as you see it here. And if you do, it's like hidden into like the style of where you are. I think when I was over there, I saw maybe a Burger King or a McDonald's, but I would think in a place like the UK, maybe outside of city centers, not so much, but I feel like there's a reason why our style of coffee, drive-through coffee, is so popular because there's a convenience level to it, and there's a level of getting a sweet yummy something in the morning, but also like I would think that convenience level would be able to translate across countries and across. I mean, it's obviously translated well down in Belize to get a drink in under a minute and a half. Does that translate well to somewhere like UK, Newcastle, London, rest of Europe? I would think so.
Well, I think because I have friends from, who've traveled a lot over in that part of the world, and a lot of it comes from where we're from. There's almost a monopolization on style, and over there, they're they're doing their best to stay, farmers market or sustainable, or provide a lot of variety of product, um, and be original. There's less corporation style marketing and influence on the population than there is here.
That's fair. Yeah, that's true. I mean, which I guess, and to Drew Davis's credit, probably is what helps make a mom and pop and or an indie shop, thrive so well, because it's unique, it's different, it's offering something that nobody else is offering. So if you're to do like an indie drive-through over in the UK, you might have a winning idea
Oh.
there.
What would throw us is the design aspect, right? Because the driver's on the other side of the car.
Oh, I
We
didn't
have
even think
to
about that. Yeah,
wrapping would be a whole nother
you'd have to work
animal.
backwards. Dude, that would be so tough. Like just to work backwards of everything that you've learned over all of the years, just like flip it. I didn't even think
Yeah.
about that.
I'd be going to the wrong side of the car all day.
I don't know. I don't know how, like, if you go over to UK, like maybe somebody has, but if you go and like rent a car, I don't know how you do that and not like just run off the road on accident. It would be, yeah, that sounds horrible.
It's a different world.
So have you worked much with Drew down in Stopping Grounds in Tennessee now that he's down there and they're getting ready to open new locations?
So when they were first introducing their concept for their drive-through location, I was involved. We had some meetings and some conversations, and like he said, it was kind of a foreign concept to him. And as you and I know, it's basically our foundation for coffee is drive-through, and it's kind of what we preach about is to do drive-through because fast turn times means more tickets. And so he did bring Aaron and I in on some conversations around operation and workflow and design when they were designing the building. And but that was a few months back, and since then they've been kind of running the show. So I think sprinkles of wisdom here and there is the most that we can offer right now. But I hope it sounds like they're doing well.
Yeah. Well, and the more I was thinking about it too, just with how much he was saying Dutch Bros is making, like Dutch Bros is making a push. I think they're going hard into that sort of early Starbucks model where it was just quantity over quality. Like open up as many locations as you can as fast as you can, and then you come around behind, you start closing locations that aren't making a profit. I mean, that was what Starbucks did in the 80s. Like they just blew up. And it was like, if we can put a spot there, put a spot there. And if it doesn't work, we'll come back around, we'll clean up afterwards. But like that giant push of getting your brand across the country as fast as possible. Because like, yeah, east, like Tennessee, down south, East Coast, it's Dunkin' Donuts, that's it. Or maybe Starbucks now. But if Dutch Bros is coming into their area, like he's saying, like that drive-through model is going to be there real fast. So if he can be ahead of it, like he was with their original shop, just being there in the first place, I think they've got a really good chance.
Well, this is, I mean, we've been on, I feel like, a tipping point for a little while with, the generational influence of coffee because it was Starbucks, and then, and then it's been Dutch Bros for so long. And then, BlackRock started coming up, and Human Bean, and like all these other ones. And recently, Human Bean, or I'm sorry, Dutch Bros and BlackRock have taken a similar approach to their business because they've been purchasing out their franchises,
Yep.
going corporate and expanding rapidly. And that it's while it is a change in culture, it does have its benefits. Obviously, it worked for Starbucks, and if you steal properly, if you steal ideas properly, it'll work for you too. So,
Yep.
in their wake, as these big companies do come in and try out locations and then close locations, well, they are doing the marketing research for the indie coffee shops and
Yep.
opening up the door for, say, a mom and pop to come in. And if they do, if a Dutch Bros does, if it doesn't work for a Dutch Bros, it doesn't mean it's not going to work for a mom and pop. A lot of people in their little communities want to be associated with the businesses that were started and support their local communities. And so a Dutch Bros that comes in from Oregon over in Tennessee,
Yep.
the people of Tennessee, that might be exciting for a month, 2 months. But I think in all of us, there's a drive to go home, support home, and put your money where it's going to, make a better community for you and your family.
Yep, hometown hero, right? It's all about that
Mhm.
hometown hero. Actually, now that we're thinking about it, or we were talking about it, didn't yeah, Dutch Bros IPO'd 2 years ago. Wow, it was 2 years
Mhm.
ago.
Time
Yeah, so
flies.
they're a public company now, which I mean that makes sense where they're getting all that funding to expand so quickly. And obviously, and honestly, probably why they have to expand so quickly. You got shareholders now.
Yeah.
You gotta start pulling in some growth. But I mean
Yeah.
that it is such a double-edged sword because going public like that, obviously getting a huge stream of capital, you can expand really quickly. You can buy up your own franchises and stay corporate. But I think the other side of that is, yeah, you immediately put a target on your back in those smaller communities of like, oh no, we don't want them, not them.
Mhm.
Like, will somebody from here please open a shop so I don't have to go to Dutch Bros or to Starbucks? There is a weird double-edged sword. It's like if you're Dutch Bros, you're just looking to hoover up as much market share as you can. But the nice thing about that is they're going to lose some just by way of being so large. And those are great pockets for the stomping grounds to open up. And then you've got like a whole group of people who are like, I want anything else other than Dutch Bros. Not to mention if you can come in with a better product too, because it's not like Dutch Bros is known for having the best coffee in the US.
I don't know if there's one brand that's known for having the best coffee in the US, so that prize is still up for the taking.
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, there was, remember when there was Intelligentsia back in the day, and we all raved
Oh,
about Intelligentsia, and there was,
mm,
what was it, Stumptown, and they all got bought up. They all got hoovered up.
yeah, yeah. Well, when you have a great idea and someone wants to pay you for it, you
Yep.
usually just because you're gonna keep having great ideas, you might as well get paid for them.
Have you looked up the holding company that owns Stumptown and Intelligentsia?
Is it Blue Bottle? Is that who
No,
did
it's
it?
I think they own Blue Bottle now too. They're called Jab, I think, JAB Holdings. Yeah, they're a German investment company. And they
Wow.
if you look at their holdings, they've bought up just about all of the major coffee and tea outside of Starbucks and like Dutch Bros, Intelligentsia, Pete's, Blue Bottle, anybody who's grown at all, this random German company has purchased. It's kind of weird. Kind of weird.
Not so random German company that's taking over the service industry in the United States.
Yeah, seriously. If you ever, it's a weird rabbit hole to jump into, but if you like just look at their holdings, you're like, wait, what? Wait, what?
Yeah.
They're buying all like traditional indie coffee companies that were competing with each other. These guys coming was like, we'll just buy you both, actually.
Hmm. We'll take both your shares of the market. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, so it is really like the corporate giant against the indies, at least when it comes to coffee in the US right now. And if you're an indie,
Well,
it's like easiest time to stand out.
oh yeah. Well, especially if you're doing, I keep using the term stealing like an artist. If you take what works and then make it your own, that's how you succeed. Because if you try to do it exactly how Starbucks did it, it's not going to work. If you try to do it exactly how Dutch Bros did it, it's not going to work because they did it their way. They did it from their creative enterprise and their group of minds and their way. You can take what you can take and then make your spin on it, and you'll stand out, and it's easier to shine. Part of the double-edged sword of you getting that big influx of money from investors is, you're what we talked about, like a team oriented or family oriented. There's a difference. There's a different take on management and growth. There's a different perspective when you have, say, like an owner operator versus a random German company that buys up all your stores and tries to expand and take over the world or take over the market and monopolize it. And I think I've dealt with the headaches of small stores and just what it takes to run it and the disappointments of the failures and the learning process. And I can't imagine just being like, oh, let's just open 100 stores, and if 50 of them don't work, it's fine, whatever. Because to us each barista is important. Each system that is created is important, and we try to build systems that create a process in itself to support the people and the business and the growth. And that's what we've all been about, and this whole indie thing has been about. But when you sell out like that, I guess I should say. I was trying not to say it the way that I was going to come out, but when you sell out like that, you take a back seat.
Yep.
your creative vision and not necessarily the driver anymore. So I think, we all start out with the intention of making it our vision. But at a certain point, if you have your vision is going to develop, and it's okay to take a step in a different direction, I suppose. But for us, we still think about the culture, and we still think about, you know, what it takes to really run it in a way that is cohesive with the closers and the openers and the managers
Yep.
and the owners and, everybody all together.
Yeah. And it's not to say that corporatism is horrible, but it's just like, what is your goal? Is your goal to make like a community-based, business that helps build up your community and gives back to everybody around you, it helps employ kids around you and, help people grow? You're not going to get that in a corporate setting. If your goal is to just open up a business and grow as fast as you can so you can sell it off to somebody else, sure, it's a great goal. But like those two are like so far away from each other in reality. Is like you cannot carry both of those things. I mean, you might start one and go to the other, but like they're completely different, and they're going to completely shape how you run your business or how you operate your business or how you sell your business, if that's the case. Kind of like roasters compared to BlackRock here. Like we put blood, sweat, and tears into it for years and years and years and years, and that can either continue on and we can make it something great, or it's like you have to completely shift away from that and go, all right, handoff, it's somebody else's now. You can't do both.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think, I'll always advocate for a realignment of values, every year or every quarter, to say, look historically and say, okay, well, these are the problems we faced, and these are the systems we tried, and these ones failed, these ones worked. What are our values now, and what do we want to do in the moving forward to avoid some of these problems? And if you do find your values shifting, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but that also means your strategy needs to shift. You can't just keep doing the same thing when you have 150 employees. It's different than having 10 employees.
Yep. Yeah. If you're when you open your first shop, hopefully, after your 12th shop, you're not going in there at 6 a.m. to pull shots. like that is a strategy that has to change. No matter how great you think you are at making a cup of coffee, like after shop number 10, you should probably not be behind bar. You should have, a manager who's devoted their time to it. But yeah, it is. It has to evolve. Otherwise, or I mean, you don't grow if you don't evolve. And I think you're right. Like a annual reevaluation of what are my goals for my business as a coffee shop. Are my goals to hit 10 stores and that's it? I want to maintain that. I want to, give opportunity to new kids as, kids, grow out of obviously being a barista, because nobody's a barista until they're 45. At least most people aren't. But if that's their goal, that's great. But you're the way you run your shops has to align with that. If your goal is to grow as many stores as possible, as fast as possible, and get bought out by a holding company, then like you have your strategy with how you work with your people too has to follow that. You can't be like, hey, we're a family, and then see ya.
Peace. Family just shrunk to just me.
Yeah.
Well, and I think what we learned that with roasters is how fast we grew. We almost had to take a step back and say, well, what worked case by case is not going to work when we standardize everything. And it does take growing, like you said, it's growing pains, and it can be kind of hard and painful, but it's real conversations that are better had, before all of, the growth happens. Have them with yourself. What am I going to do? And of course, today I'm thinking, I want to, have X, Y, and Z. But when I get from, here to there, my values might be different. So contingencies are important. And knowing when you make a replicatable system, there's different value in it than making a system that works for, if you have 5 stores and you have different systems in your stores, but you can run them, that's great. If you have 10 stores, you can't run all those systems.
Yeah. Or I mean, we found out really easy too, like even just building a location, trying to make every location unique in its decor and and the way it looks on the outside, the way it looks on the inside, like that's great for 3 or 4 stores. At 10 stores, you'll be like, God, we have to decorate another store with some random stuff again. Like, how am I supposed to find this stuff? So again, if your goal is 5 stores, great. Be unique, be completely indie, be weird, be off the wall. Like that's unique to you. If your goal is 15 stores, that's going to have to change just a little bit, just from the sheer amount of time it takes to find weird chairs every time you open a location.
Well, and the process up front, but then the process following, because someone has to be managing your properties, somebody has to be managing your aesthetics, and if every single store is different, well, then every aesthetic, we call them what, pit stop lineups. Every pit stop lineup is going to be different. Every single one's going to have 25 bullet points, but they're not going to be the same 25 bullet points. So there's a lot of value in streamlining things.
But managing at scale is really difficult, like you said, when it's different. Which I mean, I guess that's a yeah, case lesson for all of those coffee shop owners right here who've got 1 or 2 locations. Like, start thinking down the road. Well, again, what is every year? What is my goal? My goal this year is 5 locations. Next year it's 10, or next year it's 20. What can I do differently now that's going to set me up to be able to do that at scale? Come up with a floor plan that works, that you can just replicate. Like, it took us what, 6, 7, 8 locations before we were like, maybe we should just start building these the same.
Yeah, yeah.
But start
Well,
thinking
and
at
there's a way to,
scale.
yeah,
Oh, go ahead.
there's a way to do it painlessly. If you're thinking at scale and you do it ahead of time, it can be more painless than having your 10 stores, which are hometown, and it's all family. And then you're like, well, I just need to actually streamline everything. And people don't understand the change. So baby steps, small turns of the knob to get you, tuned to where you want to be is a lot more effective. And planning ahead is key in that process.
Yep. Introducing writing down 1 policy a month, like getting all of your unwritten rules down to written rules. And all of a sudden you've got an employee handbook, and you've got like black and white, like these are what we do, this is what we don't do. Now thinking of Drew, what he was saying was a difficult part of going from that family oriented business to that team oriented business is that's like, well, hey, I thought we were friends, is real tough when you have to fire somebody. But like I always said, if you have it in black and white, it's not me that's firing you, it's the policy book.
Fired yourself. I don't know what to tell you.
Exactly. Fun stuff. All right, well, Drew, it's time for us to go.
Pleasure.
We will talk everyone next week with the next special guest. I hear we've got one coming up next week. See who it is.
Surprise.
See ya.
All right.